Alright, hi people, it's Shakes here, and I'm here to do an unboxing test today of George Carlin, the Commemorative Collection, DVD and Blu-ray and also CD collection that came out last year for George Carlin, containing all of his stand-up specials, some rarities, some like TV specials I believe, and then a CD containing the audio of his special. I kind of like it when a lot of people die, which was recorded before 9/11, but unfortunately, shelved for a little while until all that got over with. So yeah, and it got, I guess, released just in album form and then put into this collection at some point. I don't know if it got a separate release or not, but it's here, so it's really cool. So on the front, you got a collage of different George Carlins from over the years, which is actually really, really cool, because he doesn't look quite the same in every single stand-up special he did, but he looks mostly similar, and it's very interesting to see even artist renditions of him at a young age, which is actually just very weird to think about, because you think of George Carlin as the dude with the graying hair and the beard and everything, but back in the 50s and 60s, he was clean-shaven and everything. It's really weird to see, like, even on YouTube, there's, like, clips of him from the 50s or 60s doing stand-up where he's doing, like, impressions and whatever else, and it's not quite political stuff, and he was actually kind of clean-cut a little bit, and then it's just, like, the 70s hit, and then he started doing more stand-up, and then the 80s hit, and he's just, like, becomes the George Carlin we all know and love today. So, yeah, which is actually just really cool. Logo for this George Carlin Commemorative Collection and everything. It's on the side right here. This did come a little bit bent and damaged, because I ordered this through Amazon and it shipped through UPS, and it came with basically everything I just did an unboxing for before this, so it kind of sucks. And it did affect the DVD case as well. I'll just order a replacement 10-disc DVD case. You know, it's not that hard to do. It's not that much money to get one on eBay. Yeah, so you got MPI home video, another picture of, or another version of, or smaller version of the picture from the front, George Carlin Commemorative Collection DVD video and all that. And on the back, description of the set, HBO stuff, On Location with George Carlin again, Carlin at Carnegie, Carlin on campus, Playing with Your Head, What am I doing in New Jersey, Doing It Again, Jammin' in New York, Back in Town, George Carlin, 40 Years of Comedy, You Are All Diseased, Complaints and Grievances, Life is Worth Losing, and It's Bad for Ya. Those are all his HBO specials, extra bonus stuff. I kind of like it when a lot of people die, audio CD. Life is Worth Losing on Blu-ray, as well as It's Bad for You on Blu-ray, because those were filmed in high definition. Personal favorites, George Carlin's Best Stuff, George on George, The Real George Carlin, Too Hip for the Room, Apt to See, George Carlin appearances from CBS Talent Scouts in 1963, The Hollywood Palace, 1966, The Jackie Gleason Show, 1969, The Comedy Store in 1999, and The Comedy and Magic Club in 2006. Liner notes by Patton Oswalt, which is actually really cool. I like him as a comedian as well. So you have three different pictures of him, one from, I guess, the early years when he started doing comedy, him from the 70s, and then him from the 80s/90s, which is actually really cool, and then a picture of him from the last roughly 5 to 10 years of his life, which is really, really cool. I like that. So you got MPI, Dolby Audio, DVD, Blu-ray, Region A, the DVD's Region 1, or the DVDs are Region 1, English 2.0 stereo, subtitles in English and Spanish, selected programs, various aspect ratios, approximately 22 hours. I remember when all of his stand-up specials were on Netflix for a while, like several years ago, I binged them all in like a few days, and in all honesty, this guy's up there in terms of great comedians. He's so funny, he's on point with a lot of the stuff he says. A lot of his stuff, weirdly enough, holds up, especially the stuff from the 80s and 90s. And he has just a lot of great bits, especially the 7 words you can't say on television. That's really cool. Which actually was somewhat quoted in an episode of SpongeBob, weirdly enough. So, yeah, and even joked about further, which was actually really cool, that they semi-shouted out George Carlin, even though that they weren't, I think, legally allowed to really reference too much. And this may come as a shock. I first, or maybe not, but I was born in the mid-90s, so I grew up first with George Carlin on the show Shining Time Station, when he replaced Ringo Starr as the character of Mr. Conductor. And my mom got me a bunch of VHS tapes on eBay, I believe it was, or Craigslist, in the early 2000s for Thomas the Tank Engine and Shining Time Station, which was actually really cool. You can even find George Carlin's narrations of Thomas the Tank Engine with remastered video that I guess the person took from remastered DVDs or whatever, from the British release, I assume, or British re-releases of the show on YouTube. They're actually really cool. And then there's also this really cool parody series called George Carlin Narrates Thomas the Tank Engine 18+, and it's really, really funny to see all those clips remixed like that, and the audio is really well done for most of it, so yeah, props to that guy. So here we go with a booklet for the commemorative collection. Picture of George Carlin on the back from, I guess, the 80s, the early 80s. So yeah, but another version of the picture from the DVD case, or a slipcover, or box. So a letter about George Carlin from Patton Oswalt, aka liner notes, which is really cool. Need to read that at some point. I guess George Carlin from the early to mid 70s. So then a guide on everything, with some really cool with some information about when it was filmed, some of the famous routines from each special, a quote from George Carlin and everything, which is honestly really, really cool, with some pictures from the times that these were filmed and broadcasted of George Carlin, whether they be candid shots or professional shots and everything. They're really, really nice to have, and everything, you know. There's even a really cool line that he has in one of his 90s specials, where he talks about kids, and he's just like, and this is Mr. Conductor you're talking to here. I know what I'm talking about. Which is really, really cool. He called himself the anti-Pete Best after he got that part, because, you know how Ringo replaced Pete Best in the Beatles? Well, he replaced Ringo in Shining Time Station, so yeah. And he also dubbed Series 3 and 4 of Thomas the Tank Engine while he was doing Shining Time Station, and while he was doing Shining Time, he redubbed even Ringo Starr's narrations for the U.S. airings of those episodes, for Shining Time, I believe. I believe that's where he did it, or maybe he redubbed them for syndication purposes, but either way, it's really cool looking into that kind of stuff from the perspective of someone who was a very big fan when I was a kid. And I still have a bit of nostalgia for those things. Really wish we would get DVDs over here of early Thomas the Tank Engine and Shining Time Station. I don't know. I don't understand what's keeping up with, or what is keeping Shining Time from being officially released on DVD. Do it through Shout Factory. They're good at doing that. It's like that series didn't even get full VHS releases, and you can't find episodes anywhere. It's really sad. Yeah, I don't know if it's legal issues or if they just don't want to bother releasing it, but give it a re-release, honestly. You'd make so many people who were kids and saw that shit on PBS or VHS really happy. Release it overseas, too, in the UK, because they never got it. They only got the episodes dubbed. So, or the episodes with their narrations. So this is actually really cool that it comes with as well. So, basically, this also comes with a really, really cool big poster of what's on the DVD cover. as you can see. And that's honestly just really, really cool. I don't know, I probably won't hang it up in this room, but I'll hang it up in the future. And you guys will see that maybe at some point if I decide to do a video about it when it happens. But here we go with the DVD case, which there's the younger George Carlin from the 50s and 60s on the front. The side with the George Carlin Commemorative Collection. Then on the back, George Carlin from circa the 80s and 90s. So yeah, as I said, the DVD case got broken in transit, unfortunately. So there's that. That's a bit broken. But then the DVD holders on the back half of this are snapped off because the holders, or the things keeping them in place, broke during transit. Some people also have this problem. I saw in some places on Amazon. I genuinely don't understand what the hell is the problem with that, but here we go, I guess. But yeah, so Disc 1 has On Location with George Carlin and George Carlin again. Disc 2 is George Carlin at Carnegie, Carlin on Campus, and Playing with Your Head. All these are DVDs, by the way. Disc 3 has What Am I Doing in New Jersey, Doing It Again, Jammin' in New York. Disc 4 has Back in Town, George Carlin, 40 Years of Comedy, and You Are All Diseased. And then Disc 5 has Complaints and Grievances, Life is Worth Losing, and It's Bad for You. So you have the entirety of George Carlin's discography for his stand-up specials on 5 discs, which is really, really cool. And most of them have 2 to 3 shows per disc. So that's really cool, in chronological order. So that's awesome. Unfortunately, as you guys can see, that's how they snapped off. Half the shit fucking snapped off in transit. So here we go. Be careful when you buy this, by the way. Make sure you get it if it's available in a store, physically, rather than buying it online. Or buy it on eBay, and make sure the seller, or from a third party, make sure the seller specifies that the DVD case is not broken. So, you know. So we go with Disc 6 with bonus features. All of these are bonus stuff, basically. George Carlin appearances, The Real George Carlin, Apt to See, George Carlin Personal Favorites on Disc 6. This is Disc 7, with George Carlin appearance from the Comedy Store in 1999, and George's Best Stuff, which I imagine is a compilation of his best bits. So we got Disc 8 of the bonus stuff with George on George Carlin appearance from the Comedy and Magic Club in 2006, and George Carlin Too Hip for the Room. So yeah. And then right here is the CD for I Kinda Like It When a Lot of People Die. I literally just ripped this to my laptop before filming several different videos in a row for these things. So, yeah. So then you have Disc 10, which is a Blu-ray that has Life is Worth Losing and It's Bad for You in HD. So, that's actually really cool. You wouldn't have thought they would have done that, but that amount of care and everything for the fans, I think, is really commendable and everything. Especially when I think George Carlin really deserves a lot of praise and respect. And not to be misappropriated by fucking conservatives, but I'm not going to be going into that right now. But yeah, because, like, they're misusing what his words actually were. They don't actually understand George's political or social things, even though he states them in the specials. But, yeah. George was not conservative, and he wasn't necessarily championing for free speech. He said shit that was definitely not stuff you'd normally say in good company, but also, like, he didn't have any hate speech in his rhetoric. So, honestly, kind of surprised no one's tried to cancel George Carlin. But anyways, so, there's not much else to say, so links in the description on my shit, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.